Welcome to the 411 on 420. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your cannabis partner strategist.
Hey, thanks for joining us today and every Saturday from noon to 1 when we talk about the business of cannabis to help you make informed decisions on a product and an industry which is, well, growing.
Yeah, and it's budding.
Well, those are all, nice terms and so forth. But you're right. We are actually trying to educate everybody in a way that they understand an industry which is starting from a very infant stage across a couple of states right now, 4 states and Washington, D.C., and multiple medicinal areas across the country and so forth. But we're looking to see what we can do to educate you so you can make informed and factual decisions about a product and a whole suite of opportunities for people which may or may not be getting all of the correct information out there. And so we're trying to dispel those little rumors.
That's right. We're here to educate, eradicate, and inform. We're here to navigate through a new industry, like we said, and a product. We're talking about endless products, endless uses, and endless jobs.
Eradicate?
Well, eradicate the myths and stigmas.
Boy, that's a good one. I mean, you got me by
Right.
surprise on that one. Boy,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, we're trying not to do
It
that.
makes sense, though.
Eradicate the
myths and stigmas.
Yeah. Yes, and the
right.
stigmatism and so forth. What we want to do is we want to make sure that, people are thinking out there when they're thinking of employment and so forth. There are business opportunities in the cannabis industry. There are business opportunities around the planet for all different kinds of jobs and so forth. But we want you, it's our favorite thing, if you will, to start thinking about your nation's veterans, because those people are the ones that have taken the time out of their lives to protect our liberties and give us the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States of America. So take the time to honor those individuals with a hand up, not a hand out. So if you have a job or know someone that has a job, recommend that they seek a veteran to be employed by them.
That's right. I mean, veterans are highly skilled. They are disciplined and loyal. I think of the words that come to my mind when I think of veterans: teamwork, critical thinking, no job is too small, every job is done with integrity and pride, adaptability, leadership. What more could you want from a potential employee?
No doubt about that. The folks always, no matter what, our veterans, regardless of what branch of service they might have served in, some people have a preference, whether they're Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, or whatever. It doesn't matter. They all have a basis that they went to boot camp and they learned a lot of things about respect, integrity, fairness, accountability. Those individuals can do wonders to help you move your business forward in a way that is creative. And a lot of times when you don't have the resources, they just know how to get the job done.
They do. Not only do they get the job done, but there is teamwork and, a sense of accomplishment.
Not only that, but I think about diversity. I mean, when we talk about our nation's veterans, when we talk about our workforce and so forth, there is no other group of people out there on the planet, if you will, that have been in such a diverse environment where it doesn't matter who they're working with, whatever walk of life they're coming from, whatever their educational background is, they know how to work with just about everybody.
That's right. So when you're looking at putting someone in a forward-facing position with a client, you want someone that's going to, treat them with white gloves.
Well, not only that, but respect,
well,
and integrity and fairness.
Absolutely.
And so forth. And that's what every single veteran, while they're in the service, is taught, and it becomes ingrained in their persona, which is really kind of beneficial for your business. But also, I really appreciate that from everybody that I've ever met. So. Additionally, though, I mean, if you don't have a job and you are thinking about getting a project done, or you're thinking about buying a product or a service and so forth, then you can look over at the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. We have our own website there that lists all the veteran-owned businesses throughout the state of Washington. And it doesn't matter if you were buying a car, getting a car repaired, getting some plumbing done, getting some construction done, or whatever. There is a place for you to search out an opportunity to employ a veteran-owned business.
Right. And on the other side of that, veterans have so many resources available to them. It's just finding them. Right, Daryl? So there's there's resources for veterans' families, for resume building, interview skills, whatever you need to level up and to transition into, a civilian life. There are resources to help you catapult yourself into that healthy direction.
Exactly. You want to make sure that, I wouldn't say you want to make sure, but I think you want to think about not only the veteran themselves, but their wives, their spouses, and so forth, and their children, because there are opportunities as they move around the country. They don't usually get those opportunities because they haven't settled into into a community for very long, given the nature of the transitional nature of the military. However, the number one place on the planet for people to settle down is the Pacific Northwest when they're done, because we have such a very wholesome area to come back.
There's a smorgasbord of things for you to do here in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, hey, that said, we are talking about creating jobs in an industry which is brand new. Not really brand new, but it's actually been growing, and I want to keep saying that word. It's a budding industry that's growing across the nation and getting a lot of attention and so forth. And so we're looking at talking with people throughout our entire existence, and we've been on this for several weeks now, that are helping to move that conversation forward. Today, we're going to be talking with Dope Magazine and one of the co-founders, and we're Trek Hollnagel and Abigail Ross, who's a content manager for the Nation for Dope Magazine. We're going to learn more about what they're doing with their operation at Dope Magazine and how they're moving the conversation forward, in addition to how they're actually going national here very shortly, from a local startup all the way up into a national powerhouse. We're going to talk about that right after these short messages. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your cannabis partner strategist.
We'll be right back.
AimBiz.com brings you the life of a business website. The majority of business websites can't be found by search engines, so their owners lose customers and money. An AIM business website wins new customers on Google and Facebook. Imagine your website with great content management, an integrated blog, clean designs, and clear messages. To top it off, at AimBiz.com, you get a free website design mock-up before you ever spend a dime. For more information, go to AimBiz.com. That's AIMBIZ.com.
Sweatman Young is proud to celebrate 25 years of construction service throughout South Puget Sound, working together with you to guarantee your satisfaction and offer you a unique 2-year warranty on all work. Let Sweatman Young build your new dream home, remodel your existing home, add an additional deck, outdoor kitchen, a man cave, or even preserve your historic home. Sweatman Young provides the best construction value in South Puget Sound. Visit sweatmanyoung.com today and schedule your free consultation with Bill Sweatman, your personal professional contractor.
Ever get a traffic ticket? Had a bill you couldn't collect? Had a contract you needed advice about, such as a new insurance plan, home, or car loan? We run into these situations routinely throughout our lives. We know we need legal advice, but feel we just can't afford hiring an expensive attorney to help. Legal Shield and your legal team is now your affordable option, allowing each of us to rest assured we can quickly get the help we need for one low monthly fee. Whether it's business or personal legal advice, visit yourlegalteam.info today.
Welcome back to the 411 on 420. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your cannabis partner strategist.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today and every Saturday from noon to 1 when we talk about the business of cannabis to help move and improve an industry which needs some factual and informational opportunities to help you make, informed decisions about about an industry that's growing.
Well, it's time to navigate it, for
Exactly.
sure. I mean, if you want to get into the business of cannabis or whatever, you're pro or con, it's good to know the facts. It's good to know not only where Washington State is going, but where our nation is going.
Yeah, sort through the rumors, sort through the innuendo and so forth,
That's
and come
right.
down and get the real scoop on what's happening out there. Today, we're joined by Dope Magazine's Trek Hollnagel, who is a co-founder of Dope Magazine. Hey, welcome, Trek. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having us on the show. I appreciate it.
Yes, and Abigail Ross. Thanks for joining us, Abigail.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, it's really interesting. Trek is an expert in the cannabis industry. He has extensive experience in sales, marketing, and management, legislation, and cannabis production. Think about that. I mean,
WOBA.
years of that. I mean, you were just a little bit before. But hey, I understand that whole where you get that from. I mean, I personally had a little bit of that myself. But you're also the founding member of the Conscious Care Cooperative, the first chain of marijuana dispensaries in Seattle. So hey, congratulations on that. And also the founding member of the Cannabis Coalition for Standards and Ethics, which is a great opportunity to move a conversation forward and to educate people on the fact that there are people that really care about an industry that needs clarification for a lot of folks. And he's worked extensively with the state and local officials, congressmen and so forth, to draft the current state medical marijuana legislation. He's also working with the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board to help create guidelines to regulate recreational marijuana, or cannabis, excuse me, I keep doing that. And then also he is a co-founder recently for Dogstar Cannabis, is a tier 2 producer and processor, and has the acting director of operations.
That's a
Whoa,
lot.
that's a lot of stuff. Trek, I mean, my gosh, you are really rocking it there. Thanks again.
Yeah, you got to stay busy in the cannabis industry. It's always moving. So, started Conscious Care Cooperative. That was pretty much my first gig in the industry about 7-8 years ago, and it was definitely a learning experience before there was any regulations, before before there were even storefronts. You see them everywhere now, but back then we were still worried that the state, the feds, the police, anybody could come knock down your door and shut you down. So
I think they did.
They did.
They did often.
Yeah, every 6 months I'd get a phone call from our attorney saying, "Don't open your doors today. Raids are happening." So it was a scary time, and we've come a long way, and I'm excited to be a part of this industry.
Hey, thanks again for joining us. And Abigail Ross, you've been in the cannabis industry for a little while yourself. Now you've been helping with as an executive assistant of West Coast Recruiting in LA. You took that corporate background with cannabis and started expanding into the businesses and helping people to develop traditional opportunities and so forth for their structures. So kind of taking it out of the mom and pop and growing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you've been doing a little bit of outdoor. You've kind of gotten involved in all aspects of that. And so now you're the contributing writer and the national content manager for Dope Magazine?
Yeah, so my background was in California, where the laws are still a little bit different. Moved up to Washington last year and wanted to get more involved with recreational. Worked with Artisan Cannabis, and now I started working with Dope Magazine.
Now, what's Artisan Cannabis?
Artisan
Cannabis. Sorry, I apologize.
They're a tier 3 producer processor in Olympia, Washington.
Oh, that's why you live down there.
Yeah.
Got to be close to the job. I understand.
I actually live down there on the weekends, and then I live up in Seattle to work with Dope during the week.
Okay, very fantastic.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
which leads me to the next question that I have. And this is for Trek. Trek, you're the co-founder of Dope Magazine. So, and you been around for a little while and so forth. We had a little conversation before the show. What made you decide to get Dope Magazine started? What was the founding opportunity, idea, and so forth?
Well, like all great startups, it started in a garage.
That's always the truth.
It is.
Actually, with it all started as a concept with a good friend of mine, Wes Abney, who is actually the founder of Northwest Leaf, and he had talked about wanting to start a magazine. I had talked about it at the time. I was running Conscious Care Cooperative, and we were looking to expand the business and open up more locations. So I met with a good friend of mine, David Tran, who was in the bar and nightlife industry. He owns Amber and Cowgirls in Seattle, and he was looking at getting into the cannabis industry. So we sat down and had a conversation, and he actually came on board and became my partner in Conscious Care Cooperative, opened up the Ballard location of Conscious Care Cooperative, and we were sitting there talking one day, and I had the thoughts and ideas of wanting to start a magazine, and he sat down there, looked on the coffee table, and said, "God, there's nothing in the cannabis industry for us to advertise Conscious Care Cooperative. What do we do about this? And he was actually good friends with Evan Carter and James, who were the owners and founders of a local magazine called D-List. And he said, hey, let me reach out to my buddies and see if they can point us in a good direction. Maybe we can advertise in their magazine. And we set up a lunch meeting, had some sushi over at Ohana's in Seattle, and got out a napkin, a pen and paper.
Isn't that
and
how it starts, with a
Yeah.
napkin?
Always on a napkin.
I mean,
napkin,
you still have that napkin, by the way?
napkin and some sake.
Right.
And, a 30-minute meeting going back and forth, talking about concepts, talking about ideas. And about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks later, we launched Dope Magazine at Seattle Hemp Fest with the mayor on the cover. And it was an amazing start. And it's been a crazy roller coaster ride since then. We're going on 4.5 years, 5 years this Hemp Fest.
That's actually pretty big for 2 weeks just getting out there. It's interesting. I was reading an article just recently that says most businesses they only need about 48 hours to get off the ground, and a lot of people want to spend months and months and so forth. But really, the real successful ones get off the ground really quick and get running and say, let's keep behind it and so forth. It sounds like this was one of those.
Yeah, we wanted to move fast, and we knew that HempFest was coming. And in my mind and in David's mind, there was no better of a platform to launch it. So we were a little aggressive, but again, our partners already had D-List magazine. They were already producing a magazine, so it was pretty much just coming up with the content and finding a cover. Greta Carter, someone who's in the cannabis industry right now, helped us out and reached out to the mayor, and we were able to land an amazing article and got him on the cover and got national attention from it because he was the first mayor.
Which mayor? Oh, come on. It's your first article.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy how those things slip out of your mind.
Oh,
I forget off the top of my head. I'll remember. But had him on the cover, and he was the first mayor to speak out at HempFest.
Greg Nichols, right?
No, not
was it Greg?
Nichols. I'll remember.
Ron Sims?
Nope.
Nope. He was an executive. He was a King County executive. Oops, never mind.
But he was the first mayor to speak out for cannabis and for legalization at HempFest. So he ended up getting some pretty national publicity from that. And then there was a picture of him on the magazine, on Dope Magazine, right next to him, and that got picked up by
National press?
national press, CNBC, all that good stuff, and it was
What a way to launch.
Yeah,
man.
nice
You
little bang
can't-
for
You
us.
can't ask for a better opportunity right there.
Mayor McGinn. There we go.
McGinn.
Sorry, McGinn.
I hate it when it's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't spit it out. Don't worry, you're not the first person out there. I'm at pre-Alzheimer's. I get it. But anyway, so now you came up with the name Dope. Okay, is that just because, give us a reason.
Well, actually, James, if I remember correctly, came up with the name Dope. We're sitting there and we were on the phone, 4 or 5 of us just talking, trying to come up with ideas. Hung up the phone conversation, and about 10 minutes later, James sends out, that blast text message, big exclamation points, Dope Magazine. And right away, it hits you in the face. It's a powerful word. For our generation, it means, the new, exciting,
That's
hype,
dope.
cool. That's
Right.
dope.
Hey, that's dope. I
Yeah,
get it.
not like a dope head like in the 70s. So we really like.
I don't know, man. I'm confused.
It's
now.
good to know that, though, because,
I'm so confused.
Yeah, hey, we got
Yeah.
we got a lot of bad press from it, but press is press in the beginning. For some,
As long as they spell your name right, and it's hard to misspell dope.
it is right. And so what we did is we decided to take the word dope and make it mean something. So we created Dope, defending our patients everywhere, because that's what it really
I
was
like
about
that.
for us.
That's
and
actually pretty cool.
that made a big difference, and I think it helped kind of change the stigma.
Well, that's an interesting way to go about changing astigmatism and turning it into a positive. We really like that. So from a past medical to recreational and so forth, so how do you... you were involved a little bit in the helping of the medical regulations. Boy, I hate
right,
that
this dispensary
dispensaries
side.
getting those is it 50-53 I think it was?
Yeah, and I-502, and also, in Seattle, there's not really any real regulation, so there's basically just a memorandum and, a city ordinance that was put in place. So in the beginning, like I said, with Conscious Care Cooperative, there was really nothing. Alex Cooley, who is one of the founders of Solstice, also one of the founding members of the Cannabis Coalition for Standards and Ethics, and many other things, really led the charge in that. He won our award last year for Activist of the Year. Him and Brian Caldwell, who also is local up here in Tacoma. He owns Tacoma CCC, and worked with them to help found this organization because if the state wasn't giving us any regulation, if the state wasn't giving us any of the help, we said, we want to put a real business, spin on this. We don't want to be, stoners, out there just selling weed out of our houses like it kind of was at the time. We wanted to open up storefronts, and we wanted to build a real business and a real industry out of it. So we decided we'd regulate ourselves, and that's kind of where the CCSE started from, and where the whole process of 5053 and I-502 came from.
Well, that's actually pretty commendable, because a lot of folks went out there when it became medicinal law came out there, and they just shot up all kinds of things, and they put a stigmatism on there because they went out and it seemed to be the Wild West. That's a conversation that we've had in the past weeks, and reining in that Wild West attitude, so to speak, here, and not only here but also in Colorado and so forth. It's been a challenge to say, okay, you know what, we all need to get on the same page, and we need to get this into a mainstream and regulate it so that it can be acceptable and it can be well managed in a way that everybody feels comfortable and safe with the product as it comes out. And that's a very commendable opportunity to say, let's regulate ourselves and so forth. How far did you guys go down into regulation when you talked about that?
We went as far as you could get. The regulation aspect of it, I myself, I was involved, but not as involved as some of the others. I was trying to run the magazine. I was trying to run the dispensary, so I helped out as much as I could. Alex Cooley, John Davis, Greta Carter, some of them really led the charge on this, so, my hat's off to them. But, we really just had to bridge that gap.
Bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap.
I know. We're getting tongue-tied today.
All right.
We're both that way.
And, spent a lot of time in Olympia working with them to try to form some form of regulation. And for us, it was really a lot about the patients, too. Obviously, Dope Magazine, defending our patients everywhere, Medical Cannabis, Conscious Care Cooperative. It's really about safe access for the patients. My father had a stroke about 2-3 years before we started this business, and, he wasn't able to take certain medications that had bad effects on him. So, he tried cannabis out a little bit, and it really helped him a lot. And I really saw firsthand the medicinal power of this plant, and especially after opening Conscious Care Cooperative and taking care of thousands of patients. You see someone come through your door that has MS and is in a wheelchair and a walker, and months later, they're without the wheelchair. Finally, they get rid of the walker, and it's amazing to see what this plant can do to people.
Well, we've talked a lot about that in the past with other individuals about that, what medicinal marijuana has done, or medicinal cannabis, excuse me. I want to make sure that everybody understands that why we make the distinction between marijuana and cannabis, because
let's talk about that.
Marijuana is just a Mexican cigarette, and it was way
It's
back
slang, right?
way back in the day in the early 60s and so forth. That's really where we got to it, and so. But actually, here it's a complete plant and all the different aspects that go along with that, and so it's very important that we
Right.
understand this is an industry, and it's more than just a single use product. It's actually a plant that can be used in many, many different ways.
Right. Well, marijuana, the name itself is a trigger for some, and being slang, and the word cannabis is truly the name of the plant. And, if anybody is faith-based out there in the Old Testament, you'll find cannabis in the holy anointing oil. So that's
Interesting.
something interesting that maybe some don't know about.
You're right. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Canna,
But-
C-A-N-N-A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then fantastic. But hey, I want to ask a couple of questions about the things that you had. I guess I was going to say the successes that you saw. You mentioned one with MS, and you saw what they did in the MS and what it did to help a patient move out. A lot of talk has been about cancer and the cure for cancer, and a lot of different ways to help alleviate pain. And I think recently I've even worked with somebody about COPD to help them with their lungs issues and so forth, which is, for a lot of folks, they don't understand that. But with the new extract oils and so forth, there are some opportunities that can help alleviate certain congestion issues and so
Right.
forth.
Without
And-
smoking, but more vaping, right? Is that what
Right.
you're talking about?
So,
Yeah.
but what are some of your other successes that you've had there from a personal perspective, just to humanize that?
There's been a lot of successes. The patient that sticks out the most probably is that MS patient, because, you could see the results the most. You could see someone that, used a walker to walk to now being able to walk without that. But there's tons of different things that it helps with, pain. helps with helps with some emotional issues. You guys talked about veterans. It's nice to see them coming to the forefront and dealing with the PTSD, because I think that's a huge issue. Obviously, from state to state, there's
it's interesting when you talk about that real quick. I'm sorry to butt in, but the Veterans Administration is from a federal standpoint by saying we can use cannabis as a way to treat a veteran's PTS, the post-traumatic stress. That's an interesting opportunity to crack the federal barriers and stigmatisms and so forth, because it's all been about state and local, and then the federal regulations, because we're still on a schedule issue with regards to the drug.
Yep, absolutely.
Or cannabis as a drug.
And that was one of the exciting things about being able to start Dope Magazine, because now we've got a media source and we've got a magazine that can help educate the population. So, feel free, check out dopemagazine.com. There's plenty of articles out there if you guys want to learn more about this. Again, I know a lot about it, but I'm no expert compared to some of the writers and the team that we have. So, my hat's off to them. But that was really an amazing chance for us with Dope Magazine, because again, now we can go out there and we can research things, we can put together articles, we can really dig deep into them and find out what's going on and get the appropriate information out to the public, because there is so much misinformation out there. There are so many negative stigmas, and it's just not really the way it is.
I gotta love the World Wide Web, and beyond the World Wide Web, if someone is in Ohio looking for a magazine, would Dope Magazine be something that's available?
Actually, starting February 1st, that will be available in Ohio. So currently we are just in California, Oregon, Colorado, Washington, and we will be launching February 1st nationally in a ton of states: Michigan, Arizona, Alaska, Nevada, Tennessee, and several others. Like more
going
than
all
that.
out.
Yeah, it's going all out. So in the next, I think we're going to have 100,000 issues that we're launching of just print. February 1st, in the next couple of months, it should be up to 300,000. So these are all places too. We're not just blindly sending them out. We're calling and making sure that these people want our publication, and they do. They want the information.
Now,
So-
are these mostly with medicinal marijuana states where they're legal and medicinal, or does it really matter?
Yeah. Some of them are medicinal states, and some of them don't really have laws yet. So that's why we're rolling out the national magazine. So the way that the magazine works is the first half of the magazine is a national publication. So we talk about more broad scope things in cannabis. And the second half of the magazine is state specific.
Okay. So it's
So the way
so that's actually
so
getting
that way-
every state specific. That's a complicated
Well,
process.
right.
It's a lot of work.
We're not doing yet. We don't. Some of these states we're launching in that are new. We don't have the state magazine for them yet per se. So we're going to launch the national version in the magazine.
Okay.
The national version of the magazine, and then we're kind of hoping that each state will pick up and want to do content specific to that state. So
Okay. So and do you have partners that you're working with in each of the states, or are you just finding writers, or how's that working?
I'm
just saying, hey, we make a call out for those folks. Come on down. You're the next contestant.
If you live in Washington D.C. and you want to start a state, you want to be a state director. That's
there we
kind
go.
of that's kind of how it's working. So, and it's up until this point, it's kind of worked really well that way, where we'll launch in a state and someone will want to take it over and run with it. And I mean, people are passionate in this industry. So
Okay, so then you're going to have some kind of we interviewed somebody from Into Publications not too long ago who does similar kind of thing for each of the different communities throughout the U.S. They pick a community and they find somebody to say, I want to represent that community and get articles written and so forth. So it looks to me like you're mirroring that kind of a growth model where you have somebody from a different state saying, hey, I'm going to take this state on. I'm going to, obviously you interview them, you get them on board, make sure they meet all your criteria, and then they integrate what's happening in their local community into your
Absolutely.
national magazine, so they come out with both the national and the local content.
Yeah.
So we're tracking on that?
absolutely. And that's the nice thing about the national rollout, is that we'll have that magazine that we can take to states that don't have that yet. And another big thing with that is just the advertisers, because the way that the businesses are set up is that they're so state specific, right? So Colorado's not really trying to advertise in California. So this gives them a platform that's just specifically engineered for them, basically.
Well, yeah, and if you're talking about just product specific, usually when, because you're probably talking about your, I'm just guessing here with regards to the advertisers. There's some that are products that are more than just state specific. They can actually be manufactured in multiple states.
Absolutely, and that's a good point because not all products that we show in our magazine or online are necessarily cannabis, right? There's a lot of things in this industry that are cannabis lifestyle or cannabis related that aren't cannabis, so they are something you can order nationally.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we're talking about lights and fertilizers and also different products, like clothing or whatever.
Absolutely, not all of our readers are growers or in the industry and that that involved in the industry. A lot of our readers are just consumers or people that are coming back to the plant after being gone for so long, are picking up our magazine and seeing it be destigmatized, seeing it be shed in the light that they're not used to seeing. So.
Well, that's an opportunity for a lot of, destigmatism. That's exactly what we're talking about here and so forth. And it's, you say incorporating that as a part of a lifestyle. I kind of like that idea. So what's the mission with regards to that on Dope Magazine?
The mission of Dope Magazine, I would say, is we're talking we're talking destigmatization. We're talking bringing the cannabis plant into the light and out of the black market, as everybody likes to call it, from the dark to the light. Creating regulations around.
Oh my God,
it.
You sound like Star Trek.
The
dark
Star Wars.
side.
It is the theme.
Star Wars. Yeah. Go ahead.
And just bringing it into the light and showing people what it's about. Dope Magazine for us is it's a lifestyle as well too. We always say we're not just a magazine, we're not just a publication. We're a lifestyle brand. We really want to embody that lifestyle of what the cannabis consumer knows. If you're a cannabis consumer, if you smoke cannabis, if you're in the industry, you know what that means to live the dope lifestyle, and we try to represent that the best we can. And that's really just one of the main missions of the magazine is just to expand that and to kind of shed some of the negative connotations and stigmatizations around this.
What's interesting is we talked before the show and so forth, and one of the things that people need to understand when we talk about a lifestyle, it's not about getting stoned or getting high or anything like that, and just putting plants on your T-shirts and things like that. It's really about a healthy, wholesome opportunity, getting connection with basically rather than using chemicals or all kinds of manufactured pharmaceuticals and so forth to treat yourselves. You're actually using a bit more healthy nature specific, and most of the people I've ever met are more organic in their nature, and more vegetarian and vegan, and literally it's a healthier lifestyle. So you think about that connotation seems to be moving out of the I'm the 70s kind of thing into more of a this is what's happening today. We're thinking about our health, we're thinking about our well-being, we're thinking about our longevity, and mixing all of that to get rid of all of the things that we've been supplanted over the years. The pharmaceutical industry says we have to have this to get better. Well,
it's interesting, right? Because a lot of people say that cannabis is a gateway drug that's used a lot on the platform against it.
Is.
But it almost seems like for a lot of people, cannabis has been that gateway out of that lifestyle, like out of that hardcore lifestyle of putting chemicals in your body. I know a lot of people that are ex-alcoholics that use cannabis now, or used to be on a ton of medication that use cannabis now. For instance, our February 1st cover, our first national cover, is this guy Kyle Turley. He used to be in the NFL player for 10 years, and he left. He had really bad concussions. He was on a ton of pills. It's a great story. Started a coalition with a couple other guys called the Gridiron Cannabis Coalition, and they're all about using cannabis instead of all these meds, because when they're in the NFL, they can't use them, right? So for this guy, it's been a gateway out of being on 15, 20 meds a day.
Oh, yeah. When you think about football and what they do, I mean, just read about, you take this injection here, take that pill there, and so forth. But we really can't take drugs. But we're going to do all this other stuff to keep you out of the field.
Yeah, it's crazy. and they get drug tested, right, for cannabis. And a lot of, he says a lot of people in the NFL do use cannabis, but it's something that's very stigmatized. And at the same time, the NFL is giving them all
kinds of hardcore other things that are really bad.
Allowing them to have access to it, right? So it's just interesting that people think it goes the other way a lot.
I think
the other way around, a lot.
I just saw an article where one of the players actually was ingested some synthetic, and it really had a bad reaction to that.
Synthetic cannabis?
Yes, so it was really bad.
I saw an article about that too.
Yeah, so it didn't look very good for him. And he said, "Listen, I was stupid. I tried something," but people are looking for ways around that current stigmatism, if you will, and also the laws, because hey, they want to keep their job. And I understand that, and so we're looking at the ways to say, okay, how do we minimize that or eliminate that, and educate people that not only that, but our legislatures and our at the federal level and so forth. But I tell you what we're going to do before we talk more about that, we're going to talk about taking a break for a few short minutes, and we'll come back after these short messages.
I don't want to, but we have to.
Oh my
This is so
gosh.
riveting. I love it.
Okay, we'll be right back after these short messages. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your cannabis partner strategist.
We'll be right back.
AimBiz.com brings you the life of a business website. The majority of business websites can't be found by search engines, so their owners lose customers and money. An AIM business website wins new customers on Google and Facebook. Imagine your website with great content management, an integrated blog, clean designs, and clear messages. To top it off, at AimBiz.com, you get a free website design mock-up before you ever spend a dime. For more information, go to AimBiz.com. That's AIMBIZ.com.
Swetman Young is proud to celebrate 25 years of construction service throughout South Puget Sound, working together with you to guarantee your satisfaction and offer you a unique 2-year warranty on all work. Let Swetman Young build your new dream home, remodel your existing home, add an additional deck, outdoor kitchen, a man cave, or even preserve your historic home. Swetman Young provides the best construction value in South Puget Sound. Visit SwetmanYoung.com today and schedule your free consultation with Bill Swetman, your personal professional contractor.
Ever get a traffic ticket? Had a bill you couldn't collect? Had a contract you needed advice about, such as a new insurance plan, home, or car loan? We run into these situations routinely throughout our lives. We know we need legal advice, but feel we just can't afford hiring an expensive attorney to help. Legal Shield and your legal team is now your affordable option, allowing each of us to rest assured we can quickly get the help we need for one low monthly fee. Whether it's business or personal legal advice, visit yourlegalteam.info today.
Welcome back to the 411 on 420. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your cannabis partner strategist.
And she's over there just
Thinking about this
pacing,
conversation.
yeah.
I'm just blown away.
Okay. Hey, well, don't forget to go out to the 411 on 420.biz and look at our podcast and our broadcast and so forth, and tell us what you're thinking about. Send us an email to info@411 on 420.biz. Let us know what kind of interviews you'd like to hear and what information you're interested in hearing about, so that you can make your decisions and understand an industry which is growing across the nation and so forth. Today we are talking with Trek Holnagel and Abigail Ross, both of Dope Magazine, and we're talking about how Dope Magazine is helping to change the conversation and move it forward into a mainstream organizational opportunity across multiple states, while they lead their efforts to go national from a local garage all the way up. Hey, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Trek, currently we're talking about, we're destigmatizing and so forth. You've got a February 1st launch coming up here pretty quick. And we talked a little bit about where the magazine's going, but where can you currently find this magazine? It's not on the shelf at every grocery
7-Eleven, right.
store. Okay, so...
We used to be in 7-Eleven, but no longer.
Interesting.
You can find it at pretty much any of your, local dispensaries, your local recreation shops. Plus, a lot of places you would pick up a magazine, barbershop, restaurant, coffee shop. You can also find us online at dopemagazine.com.
So you can subscribe.
Yes, you can subscribe as well, too. And right now you can find us currently in Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and California, but we are launching nationally in February, and we should be in about 18 to 20 states at that point. So exciting time for us at Dope Magazine.
Also, if you want Dope Magazine in your rec shop or medical store, you can go online and request it, and we'll ship it to you.
Well, that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about it. It just shows up.
It's a free publication. We want to get it out there. So.
Okay, so I take it it's a free publication. You're making most of your money on advertising. So about how many advertisers do you usually carry? Oh, well, that's a question.
just
He goes, I wasn't expecting that question.
50, 60 advertisers. We like we were mentioning earlier before, it's a local publication and a national publication. So the first half of the magazine is national. It talks about national content. The second half of the magazine will be local if it's local in your state. So Washington, Oregon, Colorado, California. Right now it's local, and so you'll have local advertisers there. And then you've got some national advertisers. You've got
So
like
the state director's job is going to actually be out there getting that local advertising to help them
Yep.
grow that market there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And Abigail, tell me real quickly, you've been working with the Dope Magazine for a while as a content manager and so forth. Tell me some of the more satisfying articles that you've come across, helped publish, and so forth.
Recently,
I know, isn't that a tough one, isn't it?
Well, some of them, let's see, what have been my favorite recently? We had one in our last issue by Sharon Letts. She does a road trip for us every month, and she went to Vegas. She did the Marijuana Business Expo, which is one of the largest cannabis events in the industry, basically. And she did one on prostitutes and cannabis, which was pretty risque, I felt, for her magazine, but it was one of the better articles I've read in a while.
Okay, well, if you were to not try to get risque or anything like that, but what was the premise? I don't understand the premise. I mean,
Right.
Just because they get
It sounds random. It's like
It sounds random, yeah. So it was just kind of how sex workers can implement cannabis in their life in all different ways, like to protect from STDs, to help with trauma and anxiety, and it was out there. There were so many ways to implement it in that culture.
Interesting. Okay, and some of the other articles you were talking about? Now, what have you written specifically?
Okay, so in the last issue, I had an article on cannabis and eating disorders. I actually really like this article because...
Now, hold it. Now, I'm thinking that might be a little eating disorder. I mean, talking about the munchies. Are you
I
serious?
know, right? Yeah. So this is actually something that I think is really important, and that we have the responsibility to our readers to show, is that cannabis isn't a silver bullet. I hate to break it to everyone, but it's not. So we do need to talk about when it maybe doesn't make sense as a treatment. And I have a lot of people in my family who have dealt with eating disorders. I went into that kind of thinking it makes sense, right? Cannabis causes the munchies. Like, this has to be...
Well, if you've got a problem with not eating, that probably is a good one.
Yeah, it seemed really straightforward. And after going through it and reading a lot of medical studies, it's really not necessarily the best thing for someone who has an eating disorder, because when cannabis does wear off and you're not feeling the munchies anymore, the guilt that comes with it can almost be more detrimental than the benefits of being able to eat. So I think, it's knowledge. It's being able to share that information. It wasn't even going in as a writer, it wasn't a straightforward idea to me. So,
well, that's an interesting spin on it. It actually makes a lot of sense too. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to.
you'll have to read the article. There's more to it, but
I'm very interested in that one and the prostitution article.
That one was really interesting. And then another one I wrote for the last magazine was about Grow Room. It was called, I think, Cannabis Businesses Grow Room to Boardroom. And that transition, that's what I've been involved in a lot, is transitioning businesses from kind of being that gray area industry. I like to say gray instead of black market, because I think there's a lot of really good family people out there.
I think it's a mom and pop to grow, because
Yeah.
the situation really exists for most of the people that I've met. They knew about the industry, they're passionate about the industry, and they want to be a part of the industry.
Well, everyone's
And
green.
Well, they
Get it? It's a green industry because it's new.
Well, that too, but I mean, they pop up and then they realize that just like any other startup, you still have to get your business plan in order. You have to get your structure
Absolutely.
in order. You have to get your
Just
hiring
like any
practices
other
in order.
farmer.
And
right?
there's a lot of people out there that are they're trying to scam people, I think. So this article kind of just talks about, those things you don't think about. Trek and I were talking about this on the way over. When I worked with growers in the past that were starting rec facilities, some of them have never had an HR department. These really simple
And that's
things.
a big thing.
A big thing, right? A staffing agency. This industry the types of people that come to it to work, and it can be really good or not that great.
Also a union. I mean, we've talked about unions.
Yeah.
There are several shops, regardless, they're actually thinking about unionizing. So from a retail perspective,
Yeah.
from a processing perspective, and from a growing perspective, and I think that the comments that we had earlier with Mayor Strickland were basically so the organizational structure, making sure that people aren't taken advantage of, and that they the unions help them to make sure that they have a professionally run organization, because that is another person or organization that can help you guide in your growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Chuck and I were also talking about people don't have degrees in this industry yet. So a lot of the people that have experience in this industry maybe came from a background where they're also not used to structure, corporate structure, that kind of stuff. And I think the whole vets thing, hiring vets, is one of the best things we can implement in this industry, because it's taking that structure background and
We concur.
bringing it into the cannabis industry needs it. So
Well, you're right about that, and and interestingly enough, we had this conversation with Mayor Strickland as well, and also with one of our council people, and that's the education. Education is going to be key in the growth of the industry and so forth, and adoption and understanding by not only the local and state governments and so forth, but we need to get certification processes. With regards to medicinal marijuana implementation from a state-regulated opportunity, we spoke with Rick Garza about this, and they're going to be, you have to be certified to be a medicinal shop, a 502 medicinal shop, meaning that if you're certified, you're going to have somebody on your staff that is medicinally certified. How does that happen? Who's going to certify them, and what are they going to be certified in, and how are they going to be certified? What does that all mean, and so forth? There's an opportunity there to get standardization, just like we have a pharmacy tech that does that at a standard pharmacy that says, here, I'm prescribing this, and these are the different interactions and opportunities for you to use this for these kinds of ailments and so forth. And from a dispensary model, there's a couple dozen different opportunities to dispense, if you will, and somebody has to be able to tell the lay person that comes in with a card that says, I need help with X, and what do I do, and what are all these products, and how can they help? So education. Then we get into the growing. Not only that, but I mean, no different than viticulture when we're talking about wine. Wine is taken over this state and many others with regards to an education. So it's in colleges. You can get a degree in winemaking in the state of Washington at WSU. And I think that before long, we should be looking at ways that we can get certifications from short-term.
Canna University, what have you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they believe at this point in time, it's got to come from a private enterprise before the government's going to be able to adopt it. So whoever jumps in and says, we're going to help establish those certifications that are accepted broadly, no different than Microsoft certified systems engineers, Cisco.
Yeah, no different than any other industry.
Exactly.
I think professionalism is a huge piece that we try to bring into the industry. I mean, I like the comment that you said, the article from the grow room to the boardroom. I mean, right now it is the cannabis businesses, and it is the cannabis owners, the rec stores, the growers, the 502, whatever you want to call it. It's this industry right now that is really where the spotlight is on. So the world is looking at these businesses and how they're operating. So bringing professionalism into the industry, setting up your company right, being able to have HR, being able to have, staffing companies you work with, being able to bring executives into the industry, being able to bring that structure into the industry is huge for us. And it's been an amazing thing for us to be able to experience at Dope Magazine. Like I said, it was 5 of us that originally started the company, and we worked out of a small office. We worked out of out of our buddy's condo for a short period of time. You're everywhere, and now we're at the point where we've got a large office. We're building out a corporate office. We've got a couple offices throughout the state. We're able to bring on amazing people like Abigail and really put some structure into the company. So it's exciting for us, and it's exciting for the industry to really see that professionalism.
What distribution do you have right now? I mean, how many magazines do you put out so far?
Right now we're
on a monthly basis.
Right now we're around 100,000 copies, and we'll be expanding nationally, an additional 100,000 copies, probably on top of I think the 70,000 local copies. So just a little bit under 200,000 copies, and hopefully over the next couple months we'll be to about 300,000 copies.
But that's going to digital too.
Yeah, we just launched a new website, so the online content's going to be great over the next couple months. We're really excited about it.
So not only, I mean, and most people these days, it's all digital. I mean, print is having a hard time.
Content's king, no matter what.
Content is king, but I mean, print is a little difficult to sustain given, our newspaper industry, as you can tell.
Well, I'd love to know from Trek, your perspective and your background with dispensaries, and then also helping write the laws and assisting in that regard. What are your thoughts on the onboarding the dispensaries to the 502 rec shops? Like, where is it a good thing? Do you like the direction?
Well, let's take a break and come back and talk
Yeah.
about that. So we're going to take a break, come back after these short messages, and we'll fill in that question right then. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in
And I'm
cannabis.
Amy Ansel, your partner strategist.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
AimBiz.com brings you the life of a business website. The majority of business websites can't be found by search engines, so their owners lose customers and money. An AIM business website wins new customers on Google and Facebook. Imagine your website with great content management, an integrated blog, clean designs, and clear messages. To top it off, at AimBiz.com, you get a free website design mock-up before you ever spend a dime. For more information, go to AimBiz.com. That's AIMBIZ.com.
Sweatman Young is proud to celebrate 25 years of construction service throughout South Puget Sound, working together with you to guarantee your satisfaction and offer you a unique 2-year warranty on all work. Let Sweatman Young build your new dream home, remodel your existing home, add an additional deck, outdoor kitchen, a man cave, or even preserve your historic home. Sweatman Young provides the best construction value in South Puget Sound. Visit sweatmanyoung.com today and schedule your free consultation with Bill Sweatman, your personal professional contractor.
Ever get a traffic ticket? Had a bill you couldn't collect? Had a contract you needed advice about, such as a new insurance plan, home, or car loan? We run into these situations routinely throughout our lives. We know we need legal advice, but feel we just can't afford hiring an expensive attorney to help. Legal Shield and your legal team is now your affordable option, allowing each of us to rest assured we can quickly get the help we need for one low monthly fee. Whether it's business or personal legal advice, visit yourlegalteam.info today.
Welcome back to the 411 on 420. I'm Daryl Bowman, your business and IT professional in cannabis.
And I'm Amy Ansel, your partner strategist in cannabis.
Hey, thanks for joining us today and every Saturday from noon to 1 when we talk about the business of cannabis and providing you information and news you can use to make informed decisions. Today we're talking with Trek Holdnagel and Abigail Ross from Dope Magazine. And you had a question, Amy, you wanted to ask him about?
Yeah, well, Trek's background is heavily involved with the dispensaries and the initiatives with 502. And now that they are onboarding the dispensaries into the 502 rec shops, what is your take on that? Is that a good idea? And, is it a good direction?
Well, that's a hard and loaded question. So anything I say to this is just my personal opinion. I want to make that clear. It's
We all got
It's
opinions.
an educated
It's
opinion.
just me, and it's my best educated opinion on this. So, I think that there is a distinct difference between medical and recreational. I do like the fact that we're making that distinction a little more clear these days. Is 502 a perfect law? No. Are any laws perfect when they come out? I don't know. It is a step in the right direction. It's good to see that from I-502 passing and some of the other laws passing in Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, you're really getting the attention and the momentum that the industry needs, I think. We definitely need medical cannabis. So medical cannabis transitioning into I-502, I'm happy that there is going to be still access for patients. How that access is going to look, what it looks like, I'm a little scared about. But it's a positive step in the right direction, and I am excited to see that we are including medical cannabis in the conversation, and that we're including medical cannabis in I-502, and that it's not just about recreational.
And that is a good situation to be in, because we want to, at all costs, from a societal standpoint, eliminate that black market, because we want to, as Milton Friedman said, gain all the taxes, and the benefits and from that. Because if we're not getting any taxes, where's the public benefit? We're not really getting a lot of pain, but there's no gain. So if we're going to, just like any other industry, we collect taxes, we can help regulate that, and we can help educate as well from there. We did that with alcohol, by the way. When we took alcohol and we legalized that, most of the taxes went into people with problems with alcohol and so forth. So that, and then education, and it also paid for a number of other different programs programs, which is helpful for societal and enforcement and so on.
Yeah, there's huge benefits to taking any sustainable business or anything out of the black market, because obviously in the black market, drug cartels and dangerous people run the industry. And if you take the power and the money that comes from cannabis and, in my opinion, a lot of other drugs out of their hands, it ends crime to a certain extent and helps push back the cartels. So you've seen it in a lot of European countries where they've actually done things that sound insane and crazy and completely legalized drugs, and they've seen crime drop, and they've seen drug uses go down, and in my personal opinion, I think that's a benefit. So it's exciting for me to see that cannabis is taking that next step and becoming a drug that's not considered a drug anymore, and actually becoming acceptable, and we can start researching the medical benefits of it and find out what this plant can really do for us. Can it really help cure cancer? Can it really help cure a lot of these other diseases and ailments? As Abby pointed out, earlier, it's not a silver bullet. It's not the cure-all drug. It's not the snake oil. It's it's not a magical pill. But it is an amazing plant, and it has amazing opportunities for us. So it's exciting that we'll finally be able to research that.
And that's what you say, research it, because when we stigmatized it and we outlawed it and so forth, the research went stop and dead. Now across the globe and other places, there's been lots of research and so forth, and we're looking forward to having some of those researchers on our show in the future. But it's now that we're getting back into the universities and we're doing some of that, I'm excited to see what can happen, not only from a medicinal and so forth, but hey, from a product standpoint. I mean, just the plant itself, the structural part of that plant being hemp, if you will, having all that opportunity to create fuel, to create fibers, to create sustainable hempcrete type products and so forth. Those are opportunities which have been stalled, is a good way to put that. And talk about the sustainable, healthy ways to manage an industry. I mean, with trees, for instance, takes 50 years to grow. Well, that about wraps up our time today. Looks like this interview went just a little bit long, so I tell you what, why don't you join us at 411 on 420.biz and listen to the rest of this exciting interview. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week on the 411 on 420.
Like I said, with Conscious Care Cooperative, there was really nothing. Alex Cooley, who is with Conscious Care Cooperative, there was really nothing. Alex Cooley, who is
Long ago, when these ancient Grecian temples were new, hemp was already old in the service of mankind. For thousands of years, even then, this plant had been grown for cordage and coarse cloth in China and elsewhere in the East. For centuries prior to about 1850, all the ships that sailed the western seas were rigged with hempen rope and sails. For the sailor, no less than the hangman, hemp was indispensable. A 44-gun frigate, like our cherished old Ironsides, took over 60 tons of hemp for rigging, including an anchor cable 25 inches in circumference. The Conestoga wagons and prairie schooners of pioneer days were covered with hempen canvas. Indeed, the very word canvas comes from the Arabic word for hemp. In those days, hemp was an important crop in Kentucky and Missouri. Then came cheaper imported fibers for cordage, like jute, sisal, and manila hemp, and the culture of hemp in America declined. But now, with Philippine and East Indian sources of hemp in the hands of the Japanese, and shipment of jute from India curtailed, American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy, as well as of our industries. In 1942, patriotic farmers, at the government's request, planted 36,000 acres of seed hemp, an increase of several thousand%. The goal for 1943 is 50,000 acres of seed hemp. In Kentucky, much of the seed hemp acreage is on river bottom land such as this, along the Kentucky River Gorge. Some of these fields are inaccessible except by boat. Thus, plans are afoot for a great expansion of the hemp industry as a part of the war program. This film is designed to tell farmers how to handle this ancient crop, now little known outside Kentucky and Wisconsin. This is hemp seed. Be careful how you use it. For to grow hemp legally, you must have a federal registration and tax stamp. This is provided for in your contract. Ask your AAA committeeman or your county agent about it. Don't forget, hemp demands a rich, well-drained soil such as is found here in the bluegrass region of Kentucky or in central Wisconsin. It must be loose and rich in organic matter. Poor soils won't do. Soil that will grow good corn will usually grow hemp. Hemp is not hard on the soil. In Kentucky, it has been grown for several years on the same ground, though this practice is not recommended. A dense and shady crop, hemp tends to choke out weeds. Here's a Canada thistle that couldn't stand the competition. Dead as a dodo. Thus, hemp leaves the ground in good condition for the following crop. For fiber, hemp should be sown 5 pecks to the acre. With drill, the closer the rows, the better. These rows are spaced about 4 inches. This hemp has been broadcast. Either way, it should be sown thick enough to grow a slender stalk. Here's an ideal stand. The right height to be harvested easily, thick enough to grow slender stalks that are easy to cut and process. Stalks like these here on the left, they yield the most fiber and the best. Those on the right are too coarse and woody. For seed, hemp is planted in hills like corn, sometimes by hand. Hemp is a dioecious plant. The female flower is inconspicuous, but the male flower is easily spotted. In seed production, after the pollen has been shed, these male plants are cut out. These are the seeds on a female plant. Hemp for fiber is ready to harvest when the pollen is shedding and the leaves are falling. In Kentucky, hemp harvest comes in August. Here, the old standby has been the self-rake reaper, which has been used for a generation or more. Hemp grows so luxuriantly in Kentucky that harvesting is sometimes difficult, which may account for the popularity of the self-rake with its lateral stroke. A modified rice binder has been used to some extent. This machine works well in average hemp. Recently, the improved hemp harvester, used for many years in Wisconsin, has been introduced in Kentucky. This machine spreads the hemp in a continuous swath. It is a far cry from this fast and efficient modern harvester to the Armstrong model of yore. But here's one kind of harvester, at least, that doesn't stall in the heaviest hemp. In Kentucky, hand cutting is practiced in opening fields for the machines. In Kentucky, hemp is shucked as soon as safe after cutting, to be spread out for retting later in the fall. In Wisconsin, hemp is harvested in September. Here, the hemp harvester with automatic spreader is standard equipment. Note how smoothly the rotating apron lays the swath preparatory to retting. Here it is a common and essential practice to leave headlands around hemp fields. These strips may be planted to other crops, preferably small grain. Thus, the harvester has room to make its first round without preparatory hand cutting. Here the machine is running over corn stubble. When the cutter bar is much shorter than the hemp is tall, overlapping occurs. Not so good for retting. The standard cut is 8 to 9 feet. The length of time hemp is left on the ground to rot depends on the weather. The swaths must be turned to get a uniform ret. When the woody core breaks away readily, like this, the hemp is about ready to take up and bind into bundles. Well-retted hemp is light to dark gray. The fiber tends to pull away from the stalk. The presence of stalks in the bowstring stage indicates that retting is well underway. When hemp is short or tangled, or when the ground is too wet for machines, it is bound by hand. A wooden buck is used. Twine will do for tying, but the hemp itself makes a good band. When conditions are favorable, the pickup binder is commonly used. The swaths should lie smooth and even with stalks parallel. The picker won't work well in tangled hemp. After binding, hemp is shucked as soon as possible to stop further retting. In 1942, 14,000 acres of fiber hemp were harvested in the United States. The goal for 1943 is 300,000 acres. Thus, hemp, Cannabis sativa, the old standby cordage fiber, is staging a strong comeback. This is Kentucky hemp going into the dryer of a mill at Versailles. In the old days, breaking was done by hand, one of the hardest jobs known to man. Now the power breaker makes quick work of it. Spinning American hemp into rope yarn or twine in the old Kentucky River Mill at Frankfort, Kentucky. Another pioneer plant that has been making cordage for more than a century. All such plants will presently be turning out products spun from American-grown hemp. Twine of various kinds for tying, winding armatures, and upholsterers' work. Rope for marine rigging and towing, for hay forks, derricks, and heavy-duty tackle. Light-duty fire hose. Thread for shoes for millions of American soldiers. And parachute webbing for our paratroopers. As for the United States Navy, every battleship requires 34,000 feet of rope, and other craft accordingly. So here in the Boston Navy Yard, where cables for frigates were made long ago, crews are now working night and day making cordage for the fleet. In the old days, rope yarn was spun by hand. Today, even the rope walk is mechanized. 160 fathoms to go. The rope yarn feeds through holes in an iron plate. This is Manila hemp from the Navy's rapidly dwindling reserve. When that is gone, American hemp will go on duty again. Hemp for mooring ships, hemp for tow lines. Hemp for tackle and gear. Hemp for countless naval uses, both on ship and shore. Just as in the days when old Ironside sailed the seas victorious, with her hempen shrouds and hempen sails. Hemp for victory.